Welcome to the Dilemma series, where you as the reader get to listen to a commentary, a scenario, and then make a decision in comments on what you think would have been a better move, the only move or your move. So now it's time. Let's take you there. The rain continued to drizzle down, leaving the Australian rifle squad soaked to the bone. The monsoons had now been relentless for months. The mosquitoes were constant, and it seemed like there was no escaping them, even when taking a crap. The squad had been operating AO Grasshopper now for months, and they were getting tired and restless of the back and forth, the contested ground they'd been tasked with holding. And now it seemed like the enemy knew every move they'd made in advance. There was definitely a rat. The Sesh Commander, Corporal Bilston, was a seasoned soldier with a tough exterior and no-nonsense attitude. More often than not, he used his hands more than his mouth to let you know when you'd fucked up. He knew what it took to get the job done. He was respected and understood by his men due to his consistency, but also the standards he put upon himself. The number one scout, Carl, was also known as Pac-Man for his ability to find the enemy positions like it was a video game. He was the eyes and ears of the squad, and he'd saved their lives, saved their bacon, more times than they could count. One day the squad was in a concealed reconnaissance observation post, observing an enemy-held village. Suddenly, an enemy platoon of more than 30 fighters, not expected to be in the location, appeared out of nowhere. They were patrolling through the village, and they had a purpose. The Australians hid in the creek line, dug in with their eyelids, praying they wouldn't be spotted, or it would be all over for them. While all the focus was on the platoon moving past, suddenly the sound was broken by the sound of bells on animals' necks as a goat herder, a civilian boy, no more than 13, was moving directly towards their location. Bilston's eyes widened in panic, and he gave a throat-slitting signal to Pac-Man, indicating that it was him or them. The lads looked at their commander, then back at Carl. Tension was palpable, and the silence was deafening. The situation hung in the balance. It was time for action over emotion. Not the right thing to do, the only thing to do, and everyone knew that the decision made now would determine the rest of their lives. Bilston screamed silently with his eyes at Carl. Do it! Do it! Kill the boy! Save them all! Strauss, the number 2 scout, looked at Carl, begging him to hurry up. Through tear-soaked eyes, rules of engagement meant nothing now. It was life or death. Carl drew his K-bar dagger, and as he dragged it from its sheath, the light hit the blade, and he noticed the engraving his father had put on the blade before he'd deployed. Proud of you, son. This was a gift he'd given him before his deployment, and it had always been a source of comfort and reminded him home until now. His conscience rested on one shoulder, with the only thing to do rested on the other. Carl was in a decision dilemma twist. He was asked to make a heart-wrenching decision he didn't think he could make, to silence the boy or refuse the order and face the consequences that meant sure death for all of them. He knew that what happened next would define his future, and he had to live with the aftermath of this decision. In a split second, Carl made his decision. He flipped the knife. He couldn't bring himself to do it, and he handed it to Bilston. Even though the boy could compromise their position, he couldn't bring himself to take that life. He handed Bilston his very own K-bar dagger, the gift from his father, and whispered to him, "I can't do it." But Bilston wasn't having any of that. Bilston stepped forward in one smooth motion like he'd done it many times before. He grabbed the boy by the throat as his eyes opened like pool balls. The animal scattered. Bilston grabbed the dagger and plunged into the boy's chest, silencing before he could make a sound. The squad watched in horror as the boy's life slipped away into the mud, his blood staining the ground around him. The rain continued to drizzle, and the mosquitoes continued to swarm, but nothing seemed to matter anymore. It was as though time had stopped. The future of the patrol had been decided, and Carl knew that he would never be the same again. He would never forget the sound of the boy's dying breath, or a look of horror on Strauss's face. He had made an irreversible decision that would haunt him for the rest of his life. As the patrol broke cover and moved out of their observation post, the enemy patrol moved on unawares. Carl couldn't help but wonder what else he was capable of. War was messy, and he knew that sometimes people had to make tough decisions to survive. But could he live with the secret he was now carrying? The moral wound. Carrying this secret will be like a lifelong curse. Would he ever be able to live with himself after what he had seen and done? Also, what he hadn't done. The dilemma question to the reader is simple. Him or us? Could you and would you do it? What happens in the case where the wrong decision is the only decision to be made? What if you didn't? Could you face the fact that your inaction, your inability to make a decision what needed to be done, could mean the lives of not just you, but all the future lives of your family tree, of your family name? Could you condemn 9 just to save 1? Because those back home will never understand what it was like to stand in the mud and make the decision. Carl felt a guilt because secretly he was glad Bilston had done what he couldn't do. War is messy, the rules are made by commanders and also by politicians that will never hear a shot. You're the one on the ground. Can you live with the secret? The Australian Infantry Rifle Squad had to make a decision. But the truth is, people in war make tough decisions every day, and they have to live with the consequences for the rest of their lives. The truth is, war is not just fought on the battleground, but in the minds of soldiers who carry the burden of their actions for the rest of their lives. Naturally, everyone is an expert from a lounge chair. Let me know in comments, what else could have they done? Should have they done? Sometimes the sheepdog has to be the wolf.